breaking down the political landscape. This is KQ, truth for you. Political honesty rooted in God. This is KQ, truth for you.
Good evening. Welcome to KQ. I'm Ken.
I'm Kevlon.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. This is KQ, the truth for you.
Welcome to KQ. My name is Kevlon.
And I am Ken.
We are joining you guys once again from the mean streets of Montgomery, Alabama. It's all good here. Just make sure that when you come strapped.
Yeah.
With love and peace and harmony.
Amen.
All right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Speaking of harmony, Ken, did you hear what's going on in the federal government these days and what's going on our Facebook page?
Oh, man, there's so much good stuff going on out here in this world. It's getting kind of ridiculous.
It's all full of love and harmony, though.
Yeah. They've been hitting me up on all fronts. I have quite a few actual that seem to have been pretty hardcore MAGA back in the day that now they're starting to see the folly of their ways, and they're seeing what we got versus what they were anticipating and expecting, and it's not panning out the way that they thought it was going to pan out, and they're seeing the light. Then you got some that are just still talking about how horrible Kamala Harris would have been in all of these situations that would have never existed if our current president wasn't the president. You know, all of the wars against our allies and power grabs and on the governmental levels, and
talking about invasions and Greenland and such.
Yeah.
Digging in their heels, man. They're digging in their heels. But, you know, the only way to combat misinformation is with good information. So we want to go ahead and put an example up of one particular instance. This has been a recurring talking point, and it's happening in mainstream media. Whenever somebody looks and sees, hey, why is the president trying to do this? Why is this particular thing going on? The first thing that the people who voted for Trump come out and say is, you're against the cuts. You don't like the cuts. Well, what's wrong with the cuts? Look at all he's uncovering. What about the cuts? Let's just be clear. Since I've been alive, we've only had one president that has left an administration, left a term with a balanced budget, and that was Bill Clinton. And at the time, he was cutting left and right, along with the Republicans in the House, and they did their job as well. But they were going through looking for ways to cut fraud. And one of the things that the House passed and the president signed at the time was a line item veto, which allowed him to approve an overarching bill, but to cut out some of the things that can be considered to be pork and waste and fraud and all of that. So the Supreme Court shut that down, though. They had a ruling that said that that's unconstitutional. So the Democratic administration tried to put some brakes on things, but we were left with our federal government agencies and our IGs being able to investigate the money and go in and pick out where there's waste and fraud, and they weeded out the normal way, which is through Congress. So have no illusions. We're not opposed to cuts. We're just opposed to haphazard cuts that break the law. So we're going to make our case here today. Hopefully this will be moderately entertaining.
Yeah, I'll try. All right. So we're not playing the audio. We're just showing this thing.
Yeah.
All right, let me show
that.
this. Yeah.
This is an example of the type of post that'll show up on our Facebook page. This is a rally that the Democrats held where they were one by one speaking out about what's going on in this Doge project that Elon Musk and Trump are running and just rampantly going across the government agencies, causing all kinds of problems.
And stealing all of our info. Yeah, it says, how come none of these people care about the fraud and corruption being uncovered?
Yeah, that's called a red herring, where you pose an argument and say, why isn't this bigger on your radar when that's something that you don't even disagree with? So it's just basically to throw you off of the main point, which is it's not what you're doing. Here in the United States, we have a constitution and laws, so it's how you're doing it as well that matters. We're more concerned about the how. Is there transparency? Are these things being done outside of the rule of law? But you can't just throw up an argument today and say, let's follow the law without people getting highly upset. And so we're going to show you an example of an administration official who loses his nut there.
Yeah, that's my boy there. You know,
Baby Goebbels himself.
Yeah, Mr. Miller.
Of the federal government. You may assert there's no waste in the Pentagon. You may assert there's no waste in
Stephen,
Treasury.
I'm not
you may
asserting,
assert there's no waste in HHS.
Stephen, I don't think anyone.
Then why are you not celebrating these cuts? If you agree there is waste, if you agree there is abuse, if you agree there is corruption, why are you not celebrating the cuts, the reforms that are being instituted? Every day that no action is taken, the entire salaries of American workers that are taxed disappear forever.
Stephen, let's calm down.
This is
we're not having a debate.
There's no reason
about whether there are
you
places.
You are clearly trying to debate me, and I will be as excited as I want to be about the fact that we are saving Americans billions of dollars, that we are ending the theft and waste and grift and corruption, that we are stopping American taxpayer dollars from subsidizing a rogue federal bureaucracy that has been relentlessly weaponized against the American people.
Well, I don't know about that though, Stephen.
Yeah, Stephen's a real charmer. That guy, yeah. Boy.
Yeah, if you get mad and angry and start yelling, then that means you're making your point better.
Yeah. And not to mention, it's like, don't y'all see that y'all we're cutting and cutting? Well, what are they cutting, man?
Well, first of all,
how are they going about it? And then who's getting all this information? And what are they going to do? How can you cut by using my Social Security number?
Well, first of all, in order to cut things that are approved by Congress and signed in by the president, there has to be a law passed. See, we have a constitution in this country. And in the Constitution, it clearly indicates that Congress has the power of the purse, not a president. A president just can't decide that they want to stop spending money that Congress has appropriated and that has been signed into law previously. So if you want to just skip past the Constitution and go through and run roughshod over the entire federal government, then people are going to stand up. Sorry, that's just the way it is. People do not like that. We're going to show you how President Trump views his authority.
Here we go. He who saves his country does not violate any law. So, depends on what he means by saving the country, and it depends on what kind of law, but he said any law. So if he feels like saving the country is leaving America completely Republican, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people, and all he has to do is just break one little simple law and kill everybody else, well then, he didn't break any laws. He hadn't violated no law to save his country from what he deemed to be a threat.
Yes.
So we ain't threatening you. We just don't like how you handling business. So,
yes.
But then you can see Hitler said, the good state, the good of the state stands above the law. Mussolini, everything within the state, nothing outside the state, nothing against the state. Okay. Napoleon, I am the revolution. Francisco Franco, I am responsible only to God and to history. All the dictators seem to have some type of one-liner that they put out there that just kind of lets you know who they are before they hit.
Yes, but have no illusions. In America, it is extremely detestable and unacceptable to have someone in power avoiding the law. That makes this society unprofitable, dysfunctional, and frankly, it's going to be a situation where the people, the vast majority of the people, are going to be the victims of that type of activity. That's just the way it is. Yeah, put that back to the beginning there. So we're going to show y'all now. First of all, Trump put up his main guy, Elon Musk, the guy who spent almost more than $250 million to get Trump elected. Trump then gave him a office in the White House, which is pay to play by any means. And it was right in your face. Nobody is upset about that on the Republican side at all. They're totally fine with someone buying an election using his platform, Twitter, to push out all kinds of misinformation and disinformation, skew the algorithms to get Trump in the office. And once Trump squeaks by 1.5%, then he's got an office in the White House, and he's the one that Trump appoints to clean up the government. Keep in mind, he is a entrepreneur, and he basically lives off the government teat. And we'll show you that in a moment. But I don't understand why this guy's the right person for the job. I don't think he's a forensic auditor, for instance.
Right.
But feast your eyes on this quote. This goes into a little bit more detail about Elon Musk and his issues as to why he was chosen.
Elon Musk is one of the largest contractors that the federal government has. He's received over $15 billion worth of contractual obligations from the federal government in the last decade, 3.8 billion just in 2024. The bulk of that comes from the Department of Defense and NASA because he's launching almost everything they put up into orbit: spy satellites, astronauts, cargo, communication satellites. At the same time, he is also the subject of dozens of distinct investigations and lawsuits and complaints that the federal government agencies are handling from across the landscape. Just about every acronym you can come up with, they've got some investigation of him. That creates, at a minimum, it's an appearance of conflict of interest. And the open question is, what role is he playing in potentially putting restraints on some of the same regulators that are investigating him? And we do not have transparency into that. Despite what he said, it is not a transparent operation. It is incredibly hard to see into it. And we all we know is that there is this overlap between the things that he interacts with the government on as a private businessman and the things he's doing as a special government employee.
Yeah, hello. I mean, you should not be able to have a huge footprint in governmental operations and have control over agencies and their existence if you're a government contractor, especially one of the biggest ones. I don't see. Imagine if Kamala Harris had won and George Soros spent $250 million to get her elected, and then she slaps him in the White House and he starts going through agencies, shutting down things under the guise of saving money and waste, fraud, and abuse. Any Republican would consider that to be ridiculous. But all Republicans are accepting Elon Musk's role as he plunders through the federal government now. So that's called hypocrisy, for those who haven't defined that term just yet.
Right. All right, here we go. Once again, it's on. Murray, Trump layoffs leave Hanford nuclear site with skeleton crew.
Yeah, so they wanted to do their cuts. They were charging through a bunch of agencies, got to the Department of Energy, cut hundreds of workers from there, and turns out, we done threw the baby out just to clean the bath water. So they had to run out and try to get these guys to come back because guess what? These guys were working at a nuclear site. And this site happens to be the most contaminated nuclear site in this hemisphere. So this is called reckless. This is called, what do you call it, Ken? Haphazard, ham-handed, goofy, dumb, idiotic. Let me explain something. If you want to trim the fat off of a steak, you don't use a sledgehammer. The sledgehammer probably can get that fat off of there. Yeah, maybe even better than some other tools. But that steak ain't gonna be no good, man.
Right. Yeah, they're gonna strip steak. Yeah, man. So what else have they been up to? Been up to a little something. IRS reportedly preparing to give Musk's Doge agency access to taxpayer data. Now, why, if they're trying to find fraud, why would they need access to taxpayer data? That's what you have to ask yourself. They need it for something.
Remember when they were talking about doing away with TikTok, Ken?
Yeah.
Why was that?
They were doing away with it because they said TikTok could access your information.
Yeah, China was aggregating United States citizens' data. Mm-hmm. Data is the new currency these days. This is why platforms like Twitter and such are free, because their currency is not only, you know, they get paid by advertisers, but they also get paid for amassing data and distributing that data to people who pay them. And we give them the right to do that through our consent agreement when we sign up with them. But this is just an example. Twitter uses that data, and Elon Musk knows how to use it, buddy. So quite naturally, he's seeking to gather the data of the United States citizens. But I can tell you this: in order to comb through a budget and get to a particular agency and figure out where there's waste and overspending, you don't need to get to the data of the individuals who are the infrastructure of that system in order to find the waste, buddy. You just don't.
Yeah, you start with the actual budget.
Look at the line items where the money was spent. If you look at the line items where money is spent, one thing that's not going to be there is taxpayers' data.
Right. They don't need that stuff, man, but they want it real bad for some reason.
If you know of a reason why they need it, please comment.
Yeah, comment or say something, man, because I can't figure out why they would need my social security number. I just can't figure that out.
And not only that, from what we understand, Elon Musk has a trail of minions behind him. And by the way, as I mentioned, Elon Musk is not a forensic auditor, and neither are any of these minions that he has behind him.
Yeah, they're good at mining data, though, for some reason.
Because they're coders. You know, you go into do an audit with forensic auditors, not coders, by the way.
Right.
There's none on his team. And the quality of people that he has on the team is very questionable.
Yeah, this one guy here, the Doge worker, he was putting all that racist stuff on his social media site, saying that he would never marry out of his race. You couldn't pay him enough money.
Yeah. Just for the record, I was a racist before it was cool. Read a post on the X account. This was his account. In September, the same account posted, "You could not pay me to marry outside of my ethnicity." And then there's a couple of other ones on here. Normalize Indian hate.
Normalize Indian hate.
Now, for a while, they had gotten rid of this guy. But guess what? They had to bring him back.
Yeah.
They went back out, and Elon Musk and JD Vance and everybody, they all of a sudden became God-fearing, and they said that forgiveness is the key. So let's bring the racist back on here and get him back in on this taxpayer data now.
Yeah, buddy.
And it worked. He's back. So this is the type of people that are going around, getting into the government agencies, gathering up your information. Who knows what they're going to do with it?
Yep. Which leads us to, was this today? February the 8th. Oh, February the 18th.
Yeah, I think that was yesterday. Yep.
Yeah, the Social Security head steps down over Doge access of recipient information. So apparently Doge came in knocking on the door, and they was like, "Nah, you can't get in here." She was like, "You gonna get in here over me?" And they're like, "Well, you gonna get out the way and let's just." So she quit. She got out of the way.
And they were what they were trying to do was to get her to open up the floodgates and give them access to ding, 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 taxpayer information.
Right.
In the Social Security database. What in the world would they want that for?
Wow.
So y'all, people, there's a reason that they're doing what they're doing. Let's not sit here and pretend. Let's not sit here and excuse it away, and don't throw waste, fraud, and abuse at us.
Man, it says right here, Doge has accessed Treasury payment systems and is attempting to access Internal Revenue Service databases. Why? There's got to be some ulterior motive, man. I think they about to turn the dang on lights out. All right, man. Yeah, we're almost there. All right.
All right. Now, one of the first things that they started going after was USAID. This is an organization that looks for opportunities across the world. It's a United States government operation. They look for opportunities to implement what's called soft power, which is providing assistance to areas where it's needed. Let's say war-torn areas or areas where there's massive poverty. They look for opportunities to provide essential services to them, such as food and water and things along that line. This organization is not perfect. This organization has, just like every other organization, some issues with waste and things along that line, and corruption and all of that. There are some areas that need to be cleaned up, and it's the Congress and the administration's job to do that within the bounds of the law. So, but the Trump administration decided to just cripple them and take away their ability to function. And as a result,
yeah, almost 500 million in food is at risk of spoilage after U.S. aid pause. But it's just a bunch of food sitting on the dock that can't get shipped to hungry people overseas, that our government pays the American farmers for the food so that they can send it. Well, their checks have been cut off.
right, and they didn't go through Congress and get Congress to cut the funding and get Congress to do away with the organization that Congress established. What they did was they went straight to the organization and shut them down. And now this is what you call waste. 500 million of food at risk of spoilage. I'm sure those are some well-fed dock workers.
Yeah, buddy. And this one, U.S. farmers face uncertainty from U.S. aid, foreign aid freeze.
Same farmers that a lot of them who voted for Trump, they were selling their goods to USAID in order for them to be able to distribute in areas where needed. And now that those transactions have dried up. So now the farmers themselves are sitting on tons of food that they can't get rid of. And they're just begging and pleading with the federal government to open the floodgates back up.
Yep, right here. We put in the ground between $75,000 to $100,000 just in seed, he said. We put it in the ground, and I don't know if I'm going to get it back. Yeah, because they shut down USA where his soybeans were supposed to be going.
Yeah, so this is called a sledgehammer to a stake approach. And this is the type of thing that one could have expected when one looked at the possibility of another Trump administration. Stupidity, inadequacy, ineffectiveness, and you name it.
Yep.
So don't put that post on our Facebook page anymore. Why don't you like cutting waste?
Yeah, it ain't cutting waste, man. It's creating problems, and it's cutting people's livelihoods short. And then when those people don't have a livelihood, they don't have any money to spend, which you can't get no taxes out of nothing. And it just helps decline the whole situation. Meanwhile, the price of eggs is sky high, sky high. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
Hey, it's been real.
It's been fun.
Yep, keep it on the cube, baby. You know what we do.
All day.